All right, today I'm talking about calorie counting, why we do it, and how to stop it. So, when I first started my recovery, I would say that I did start eating unrestrictedly, eating everything I wanted, but I still had sort of like a tally going on in my head. Like I still feel like I would beat this, be like, okay, 200 calories, okay, 200, 400, okay. And I kind of keep this like loose track in my head. So it wasn't like putting it in my fitness pal anymore. Like I obviously knew that was an obvious thing I wasn't gonna do, and I wasn't gonna write it down on paper. And I wasn't gonna like make myself eat a certain number, but I kind of had like a vague number in my head of what I wasn't gonna let myself go over. So the reason that I was holding on to calorie counting is because I was terrified of eating too much, right? Which is interesting because isn't that what we're trying to do in recovery is eat as much as we possibly can. So there's really no purpose in counting our calories. So when I realized I was doing this, what I did was I put food in my mouth every time I started calculating numbers. So I'd be making a sandwich and I would like calculate it in my head, and then I'd be like, kind of get this like feeling of like, okay, I'm safe. Like now I know how much is in it. Then I'd make myself eat something else. And then if my head would be like, okay, cookies, you just had 250 calories. Then I make myself eat something else. And so I just kept doing that, which was convenient for me because my mental hunger was such that I wanted to eat all day long anyways. But what I found was starting to happen after, I don't know, maybe a week or so, maybe less actually, probably after a few days, I was like, this is so stupid. Why am I counting calories? I've proven to myself now that I'm going to eat whatever I think about, and I'm eating unrestrictedly, so why do I have to have a number? Why do I have to like know how much I'm actually eating calorically wise? So I've had some clients that are very resistant, maybe not so much resistant, but just really struggling, like really, really having a hard time with the calorie counting, just dropping it, like can't get their brain to stop calculating and counting. I say, fine, how about we make an absolute minimum that you have to eat 10,000 calories. You can count it, that's fine, 10,000 calories. And after a couple of days of doing that, the same thing happens to them. They realize how pointless it is that they're still counting their calories. Now, if you're listening to this going, yeah, right, I'm not going to eat 10,000 calories, like that's why I count the calories. Well, then you're not really recovering, right? You're not really committed to recovering. If you are unwilling to, because you're counting these calories, to prove to yourself that you're not doing it to ensure that you're not eating too much, then why wouldn't you just eat 10,000 calories, right? So that's one kind of like tip that I used in my recovery, was basically when my brain started doing numbers in my head, I ate food every single time. And within a short period of time, I realized I don't need to keep counting. This is done, because clearly my body is wanting way, 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 way more than what I've told myself is acceptable. But obviously what's acceptable has not got me recovered. Like in my mind, what I thought was acceptable to eat was restriction, right? So hopefully this will help you as you are stopping the calorie counting. The other thing that I would do is, if I was like, let's say I was eating the sandwich, and while I was eating the sandwich, I was calculating. So like I needed to get through the sandwich without my brain going crazy. I would just start going like 100, 99, 98, 97, 96, 95. Or I would turn on music. I remember I did this too. I would turn on music, and I'd turn on music. I knew the words to the songs, so I'd start singing out loud. It's really hard to sing out loud while you're counting calories in your head. So those are some things that I did. Somebody asked a good question from yesterday's video, like, okay, so if I put all these breakfast ideas in a jar, or another really good comment was that, sorry, Hazel's got a hold of my tripod. Or if another person had a good comment saying that there's like an app where you can do that will like, you put in the options and it will pick something for you. Probably should have known that there would be an app for that. Of course, there's an app for everything. But somebody asked, like, well, I find myself writing out my options and they're all like X amount of calories, like, and they're all kind of balanced, like macros. Like there's all like, in every meal I've got like perfect amount of carbs, protein, and fat. Of course, I should have known in making that video that that's where your brain is going to go. That's where your eating disorder is going to try to twist that and do. So recognize that that's your tendency and do something different, right? make a meal that has all carbohydrates in it. Do a meal that's just all fat, right? I'm not going to recommend do a meal without protein because that's typically someone's safer macro. And if you can't trust yourself to do that and you're really having a hard time, like I said, go to someone that you can trust for that. That's going to be another really good way, not just to not plan out your day, but also to keep you from calculating calories, because you're not going to know exactly what's in everything and it's going to look different from day to day. So hopefully some of these tips helped. If I think of anything else, what's happening is I'm reflecting on my own recovery, and then I'll like finish a video and then like something else will pop in my head. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember I did this, or oh yeah, I used to do that. So I'm just trying to think before I end this video if there's anything else that I did to try to keep myself, oh yeah, the obvious. Like I didn't look at packages. So I would go out of my way, because if you're eating your safe foods, like you already know every single safe food. You know the calories in every single safe food. Obviously, you already know that. So killing two birds with one stone would be to stop eating your safe foods, because you shouldn't be eating them anyways. You should be challenging different foods. But then also by doing that, when I went to the store and I bought different packaged foods, I didn't let myself turn the package around and look at it. And at the beginning, I actually did have to get a Sharpie, like a big fat Sharpie, and just kind of go like this before I did. But then also, like as I stopped doing that, I noticed how good it was for me just to like really use my what's the word? Self-control to not turn it around. So I stopped blacking out the calories, and I would just know that they're there, but I would not allow myself to turn it around and look. And that's how I taught myself that the nutrition information is irrelevant to me. So that was another huge thing that I had to do. So stop looking at the calories. All right, have a good day.